Hello, my girlfriend said. I care about you, but only as a friend. I calmly replied, friends don't pay the bills. From that moment on, I cut off the financial support and treated her like a regular friend. 3 days later, I got a call from her sister asking, do you remember me now? I care about you, but only as a friend. She said it like she was doing me a favor, like she was gently setting down a fragile object instead of dropping a brick on my chest. We were sitting at the small table in my apartment, the one I paid for, while I was finishing a spreadsheet of monthly expenses. Rent, utilities, groceries, her phone bill, the gym membership she needed for mental health. All of it was highlighted in neat rows. I remember thinking it was ironic how organized everything looked right before it all fell apart. I'm Alex, 29M. She's Nora, 26F. We've been together a little over a year. Or, apparently we hadn't been, and I was the last one to know. She crossed her arms and sighed, already annoyed that I wasn't responding fast enough. Why are you staring at me like that? I'm being honest. Isn't that what you want? I asked her what that meant. Friend how? She rolled her eyes. Don't be dramatic. I just mean I'm not in love the way you are. You're more like emotional support. Stable. Safe. I nodded slowly, looked back at my laptop, and said the sentence that apparently rewrote the next week of my life. Okay, but friends don't cover expenses. She laughed. Actually laughed. Wow. So you're going to punish me because I'm honest? I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm adjusting. She scoffed and stood up, grabbed her bag, and told me I was being petty, insecure, and transactional. Said I was proving she was right about me. Then she added, almost casually, you'll cool off. You always do. That was the moment. Not the words friend, not the dismissal, but that certainty. The assumption that I'd stay exactly where she left me. I didn't argue. I didn't explain. I just closed my laptop. That night, I canceled every auto payment connected to her name. Rent contribution, phone, streaming services, even the grocery card I'd added her to. I treated her like exactly what she said we were. Friends. 3 days later, my phone rang with a number I didn't recognize. When I answered, a woman's voice said, hey, do you still remember me? It was her sister. Her sister's name lit up my screen a second later, like she wanted to make sure I knew exactly who was calling. I hadn't heard from her in almost a year. Last time was a family barbecue where she joked that Nora always lands on her feet. At the time, I laughed. Now it felt like foreshadowing. Do you still remember me? She asked again, softer this time. Yeah, I said. I remember. There was a pause. Then, she's kind of losing it. That tracked. Apparently, the first night I cut everything off, Nora thought it was a bluff. She told her sister I was being dramatic and would come crawling back once I realized how lonely it was without her. According to her, I just needed space to process my feelings like a good, predictable boyfriend. Day 2. Her card declined at a cafe. She texted me angry, not worried. Did you seriously remove me from the account? I replied, friends don't share finances. She left me on read for 8 hours. By day 3, reality set in. Her sister told me Nora hadn't gone to work. She stayed in bed scrolling, refreshing her phone, checking her banking app like it was broken. She kept saying the same thing over and over. He wouldn't actually do this. He knows I need him. That sentence hit harder than any insult Nora ever threw at me. I asked her sister why she was calling me. Another pause. Longer this time. Because she won't call you directly, she said. She says you're being cruel, and she refuses to beg. But she's freaking out. I almost laughed at that. Almost. Instead, I asked, so what do you want? She hesitated. Honestly, I want to know if you're serious. Like, actually done supporting her. I looked around my apartment. Quiet. Clean. Exactly how I left it. No chaos. No attitude. No constant feeling of being tolerated instead of wanted. Yeah, I said. I'm serious. Her sister exhaled slowly, like she'd just gotten confirmation of something she already suspected. Okay, she said. Then I should probably tell you something. Because Nora thinks she still has leverage. That was the first time since the breakup I felt genuinely curious again. And uneasy. Leverage. I repeated. Her sister hesitated like she was deciding how much damage she was about to cause. She thinks you won't actually walk away because, well, you always paid. You always fixed things. She built her life assuming you'd keep doing that. That stung more than I expected. Not because it was surprising, but because it was accurate. Her sister continued. She told me you'd calm down once you realized how much she added to your life. I almost laughed. What she added was noise. She's been telling everyone you're being controlling, her sister said. That you're trying to scare her into staying in love with you. I didn't interrupt. I just listened. She also thinks, her sister lowered her voice, that if she waits long enough, you'll offer to help again. Maybe not everything. Just enough. That was the moment something inside me went cold and quiet. I thought about the groceries I paid for while she complained about my taste. The rent I covered while she called my apartment temporary. The nights I stayed up reassuring her while she scrolled through other people's lives on her phone, half listening. She said you wouldn't last a week without hearing from her, her sister added. She told me that yesterday. I looked at the calendar on my wall. It had been 5 days. I'm not helping, I said. Not financially. Not emotionally. Not anymore. Her sister didn't sound surprised. If anything, she sounded relieved. Okay, she said. Then I should warn you. She's getting mean. Apparently, when the panic didn't work, Nora shifted gears. She started telling people I was unstable, that I'd been holding money over her head the whole relationship, that she'd been afraid to leave me. She's telling mutual friends you were obsessed, her sister said, that you're punishing her for rejecting you. I leaned back in my chair and stared at the ceiling. She rejected a boyfriend, I said. Not an ATM. Her sister went quiet. Then she said something unexpected. For what it's worth, I never liked how she talked to you. That surprised me more than everything else combined. Before hanging up, she added, just be careful. She doesn't like losing control. After the call, my phone buzzed again. A text from Nora. We need to talk. You're taking this too far. I didn't reply. An hour later, another message popped up. I said I cared about you. I stared at the screen, then finally typed back. Friends don't make demands. And that's when she snapped. She didn't snap loudly. She snapped strategically. The next morning, I woke up to 3 missed calls and a voicemail that started calm and ended sharp. Nora's voice had that familiar edge, the one she used when she wasn't getting her way but still thought she could. Alex, this is ridiculous. You're acting like I cheated on you or something. I was honest. That should count for something. Call me back so we can fix this like adults. Fix this. As if the problem was a misunderstanding instead of a revelation. I didn't call back. By noon, mutual friends started texting. Not asking how I was, just probing. Hey man, what's going on with you and Nora? She seems really hurt. She says you just cut her off without warning. That last one almost made me laugh. Without warning. I thought about the months of warning signs I ignored. The way she'd say, I'm just not emotional like you, whenever I asked for reassurance. The way she'd joke that I was basically her husband already, whenever a bill came up. I replied to no one. That afternoon, she showed up at my apartment. No text. No heads up. Just pounding on the door like she still belonged there. When I opened it, she walked past me like it was automatic. Sat on the couch, crossed her legs, looked around. So, she said, you really did it. Yes, I said. She frowned. You're being dramatic. I'm being consistent. That annoyed her. She hated when I stayed calm. You can't just withdraw support because I don't feel the same way, she snapped. That's manipulative. I leaned against the counter. I didn't withdraw support. I stopped pretending we were something we're not. She stared at me, like she was waiting for me to soften. When I didn't, her tone changed. Do you have any idea how hard things are for me right now? I nodded. I do. And that's not my responsibility anymore. That's when she said the thing she thought would end it. So what? You're just going to abandon me? I looked her dead in the eye and said, friends don't abandon each other. They just don't know each other. Her face went red. You think you're better than me now? She hissed. You think money makes you important? No, I said quietly. I think boundaries do. She stood up, shaking with anger. You're going to regret this, she said. You'll see. As she stormed out, I realized something unsettling. She wasn't heartbroken. She was furious she'd lost access. The regret she promised didn't come the way she thought it would. Instead of me calling, apologizing, or cooling off, I went quiet. Not passive-aggressive quiet. Just absent. I stopped reacting. Stopped explaining. Stopped being available. That's when she escalated. 2 days after showing up at my place, she Venmo requested me. $420. Caption, utilities you forgot about. I stared at it for a full minute before declining with a single note. Friends split their own bills. She lost it. The text came fast and sharp. Wow. So you're really going to pretend I don't exist? After everything I gave you? That last one almost impressed me. The audacity was consistent, at least. Then came the guilt angle. I thought you were different. I trusted you. You know I don't have anyone else right now. I didn't respond. That night, her sister texted me again. She's telling mom you financially abused her. I closed my eyes and exhaled slowly. Apparently, Nora had rewritten the story. In her version, I was the controlling boyfriend who used money to trap her, and she was the brave girl who finally spoke her truth and paid the price. She's saying you're punishing her for not loving you back, her sister said. That you're being vindictive. I asked the only question that mattered. Does anyone believe her? Her sister hesitated. Some people are starting to question things. That didn't surprise me. Nora was good at sounding convincing when she spoke first. But then her sister added, she slipped up today. I sat up. How? She told Mom you'd eventually cave because you can't stand being the bad guy. There it was again. That assumption. That I'd prioritize being liked over being respected. The next morning, I got a message from an unfamiliar number. Hey, this is Mark. We met at Nora's birthday. She's not doing well. Maybe you should reach out. I didn't reply. An hour later, another text from Nora herself. Short, different tone. I never said I didn't want you. I just needed time. I stared at the words and felt nothing. That was the real breaking point. Not anger. Not sadness. Indifference. And that's when I realized she was running out of moves. By the end of the week, the tone shifted again. Nora stopped being angry and started being polite. That's how I knew she was scared. She texted like nothing bad had happened. No accusations. No guilt. Just casual check-ins. Like we were easing back into something familiar. Did you see the weather today? Remember that Thai place you like? I found your hoodie. Want it back? I didn't respond to any of it. That silence did more damage than any argument ever could. She couldn't frame it. Couldn't fight it. Couldn't perform against it. Then she tried nostalgia. One night, she sent a photo of us from months ago. A selfie I didn't remember taking. We were happy here, she wrote. I stared at it for a long time. Not because I missed her, but because I finally saw it clearly. I was smiling. She wasn't. She was leaning away, phone already half raised, eyes somewhere else. I deleted the photo. The next morning, her sister called again. Straight to the point this time. She's trying to move back in with Mom, she said. Mom said no. That explained the panic. She thought she could stay with a friend, her sister continued. Turns out, no one actually offered. I let that sit between us. She keeps saying you turned everyone against her, her sister added. That you changed. I almost corrected her. Almost told her I didn't change, I just stopped compensating. But I didn't need to defend myself. Listen, her sister said quietly. I shouldn't say this, but she always assumed you'd be there. Not because she loved you. Because you made things easier. That sentence hit like a clean cut. Later that day, Nora finally dropped the mask. Can we just reset? She texted. I don't need everything. I just need help until I get back on my feet. There it was. Not us. Not feelings. Not love. Help. I typed one sentence, then deleted it. Typed another. Deleted that too. What I finally sent was simple. You said you cared about me as a friend. This is what that looks like. She didn't reply. 30 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer, but I had a feeling the next call wouldn't be from her. And I was right. The next call came from her mother. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Alex, she said, using that careful, measured tone adults use when they think they're about to reason with a child. I think there's been a misunderstanding. There hadn't been. She explained that Nora was under a lot of stress, that she'd spoken emotionally, and that cutting her off so suddenly was extreme. She said relationships weren't transactional and that real care didn't disappear overnight. I listened, didn't interrupt. Let her finish. When she paused, I said, I agree. Real care doesn't disappear overnight. It fades when it's one-sided. Silence. She told me you're punishing her, her mom said finally. I'm respecting what she told me. I replied. She said she cared about me as a friend. I adjusted accordingly. That answer clearly wasn't in the script. Well, she said, tightening her voice, friends don't abandon people when they're struggling. I exhaled slowly. Friends don't rely on one person to carry their entire adult life either. That ended the call. After that, Nora stopped pretending. She sent one long message at 2:17 a.m. Paragraphs this time. No anger. No flirting. Just desperation dressed up as honesty. She wrote that she hadn't meant it the way it came out. That she was confused. That she'd taken me for granted because I was always there. That she never thought I'd actually leave. That line stuck with me. I never thought you'd actually leave. Not I love you. Not I miss you. Not I was wrong. Just surprise. I didn't reply. The next morning, her sister texted me again. She packed up her stuff from your place, she said. She keeps saying you blindsided her. I looked around my apartment. It felt lighter. Quieter. Like something heavy had finally been removed. That's not what blindsided means, I said. Her sister sent one last message. For what it's worth, I think this is the first time anyone's ever said no to her. I put my phone down and realized something unsettling but freeing. This wasn't a breakup to her. It was a power outage, and she was still waiting for me to turn the lights back on. The silence after that lasted almost a full day. No texts, no calls, no third parties reaching out on her behalf. That was new. I just started to believe it was over when my phone buzzed again. This time with a message that made my stomach tighten before I even opened it. I'm outside. I checked the time. 9:43 p.m. I didn't reply. A minute later, another text. Please don't ignore me. I just need 5 minutes. I waited, counted to 60. Then I went to the door and looked through the peephole. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not physically, just deflated. Hoodie 2 sizes too big. Hair pulled back like she hadn't bothered fixing it. She was holding a tote bag like a shield. I opened the door, but didn't invite her in. She looked up like she'd been holding her breath. Thank you, she said quickly. I won't take long. I didn't respond. She started talking immediately, like if she paused I'd shut the door. I didn't think you'd actually do this, she said. I mean, I knew you were upset, but you've always been steady. You don't just walk away. There it was again. The myth of me she'd built. I wasn't trying to hurt you, she added. I just needed space. I thought you'd understand. I did understand, I said. That's why I stepped back. She frowned. Not like this. What did you expect? I asked. She hesitated. Then, honestly, she said it. I thought you'd fight for me. That was it. That was the sentence. Not choose me. Not care about me. Fight. I nodded slowly. I already did. For a year. You just didn't notice because it was quiet. Her eyes filled, but I didn't move. I don't have anywhere to go, she said finally. I just need a little help until I figure things out. I met her gaze. Calm. Grounded. You told me who I was to you, I said. I believed you. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue. Then she closed it. For the first time since this started, she looked like she understood something had shifted permanently. I stepped back and gently closed the door. And I didn't feel guilty. I felt done. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. The next 2 days were quiet in the way that feels staged, like the calm before someone tries one last move. No messages from Nora. No calls from family. Nothing from mutual friends. Then, late on the third day, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in years. Her dad. I almost laughed. Almost. I answered. Alex, he said, skipping any pleasantries. I'll be direct. Nora is struggling, and I think you're being unnecessarily rigid. Rigid. That was the word they always used when they couldn't say you're not doing what we want. She made a mistake, he continued. People say things they don't mean. You don't dismantle a relationship over one sentence. I stayed quiet long enough that he had to check if I was still there. She didn't lose a relationship, I said finally. She clarified it. He sighed. You know she relied on you. Yes, I said. That was the problem. That stopped him. She assumed you'd always be there, he said slowly. I know. And now she's learning otherwise, he added, like it was an accusation. No, I said. She's learning consequences. The call ended shortly after that. An hour later, Nora texted me one last time. No manipulation. No anger. Just a single line. I didn't think saying the truth would cost me everything. I stared at it for a long time. Then I replied. The truth didn't cost you anything. The assumptions did. She didn't respond. That night, I slept better than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up to silence. Not the tense kind. Not the waiting kind. The kind that feels earned. I made coffee. Paid my bills. Went to work. And for the first time, I wasn't carrying someone who never planned on carrying me back. A week later, I ran into a mutual friend at the grocery store. He looked uncomfortable the moment he saw me, like he'd been preloaded with a narrative and didn't know which version of me he was supposed to get. She's telling people you abandoned her, he said quietly, that you shut her out when she was vulnerable. I nodded. That sounds like her. He hesitated. For what it's worth, once people started asking questions, her story didn't hold up. That was the final confirmation I didn't know I needed. Apparently, when the dust settled, the details mattered. The rent I paid. The bills in my name. The way she'd already been calling me more like a friend before I ever pulled back. Once people lined up timelines instead of emotions, things got quiet on her side. No dramatic goodbye post. No vague quotes about healing. No victory lap. Just silence. 2 nights later, I got one final message from her sister. She's moving cities, she wrote. Fresh start, she says. I wished her well through the sister, and meant it. Not because I wanted her back, but because I was done carrying resentment that wasn't mine to hold. Here's the thing no one tells you about moments like this. Walking away doesn't feel powerful at first. It feels boring, uneventful, almost anticlimactic. There's no big speech, no applause, just the quiet understanding that you finally listened to what someone told you about how they saw you. She said she cared about me as a friend, so I treated her like one. And when the benefits stopped, so did the illusion. That's not cruelty. That's clarity. And I don't regret it for a second. Bye-bye.